The Azerbaijan Grand Prix just took place and we saw a brand new exciting sprint format, and it was actually good. The sprint shootout experiment by F1 has yielded positive results, making it for an exciting action-packed weekend. The Saturday morning FP2 session, which we normally see on a sprint weekend, was replaced by the sprint qualifying session, called the sprint shootout, which was an upgrade on the previous format. A quick explanation to those who are confused: the qualifying, which was on Friday afternoon, was going to determine the grid on Sunday, which is completely separate from the new sprint editions. On Saturday though, the sprint shootout was going to determine the sprint grid order, which was a separate thing where drivers could get more points in the sprint. Now that we got that out of the way, the sprint shootout was a shortened version of the traditional qualifying with mandated tire sets in each of the sessions. In SQ1 and SQ2 you had to use the medium compound tires, and in SQ3 you had to use the soft. However, some drivers struggled with the need to use new softs in SQ3, especially those who made it into Q3 the previous day. One of those was Lando Norris, who couldn't participate in SQ3 because he had no soft tires remaining. This issue could easily be resolved in the future by giving drivers in SQ3 another new set of soft tires, so this isn't really a big problem. I think that the SQ3 sessions was either too short or too long, as the 8-minute session meant that the teams and drivers were forced to stay out on soft tires for their second runs, diminishing the tire life and preventing them from going quicker on the second run, which I found really disappointing. I think this could be fixed with a 6-minute single run or a 10-minute session allowing 2 runs on 2 sets of tires, which would be ideal so the drivers can have a good fight for the grid at the end. The good thing was the teams running in the points had extra incentive to push a little harder, and the race did see a little more action, particularly at the start between Russell and Verstappen. But for those down the grid, they didn't have much to play for. Finishing 14th or 15th made no difference. Zhou Guanyu admitted that his approach changed a bit compared to before, as moving up the order in a sprint is not rewarded if you're outside of the points, especially given the added risk in Baku where the close walls can be costly. The drivers have generally positive things to say, with Zhou stating he still found good value in his run from 15th to 11th, saying it helped him prepare for Sunday's race. "We'll still need to avoid incidents if we're throwing at the back," he said. "It's more understanding the tires and the racecraft. There's always things to learn." Fears there'd be no action or not much point in running for those lower down the order were thankfully unfounded. Verstappen aside, the drivers generally felt the new format is a step forward, but not one they'd like to see at every race on the calendar. F1 is running 6 sprints in 2023, including Baku, but the extreme example comes in MotoGP, which tacks a sprint race under a similar format onto every single race. "I wouldn't want many more sprints than what we're going to have this season," said Norris. "I still like the original classic Formula 1 structure, with practice Friday, qualifying Saturday, and the GP Sunday. It builds up to Sunday being the big day. It was fantastic that there was an improvement from the previous year's race, which was pretty boring after the first couple of laps when Ferrari's engine broke down. The new format made it more exciting on a track that has been thrilling in the past, although the actual sprint itself and the race were sort of a snooze fest, with minimal overtakes and a lack of thrill. A big problem for the teams but exciting for the fans was the car setups. Since there was only one practice sessions, the team struggled with setups, especially considering the challenging nature of the Azerbaijan circuit that made the car setup difficult, as the teams need to find a balance between low downforce for straight line speed and downforce to manage the tricky castle section in Sector 2. This made the whole setup decision even more difficult, resulting in significant differences in the 2 qualifying sessions. Fans of F1 has been sharing their opinions on the sprint shootout sessions. They have welcomed the additional on-track action, but there are mixed opinions on the new format overall. One of the main criticisms is the rule that drivers must use a new set of softs for SQ3, which meant that Lando Norris was unable to participate in the session despite having a strong weekend. Some fans felt that this was unfair and frustrating. However, others appreciated the added excitement and drama the new format provided. There were also comments from fans who felt that the sprint shootout was too similar to the previous day's qualifying session and that it was repetitive to watch the same drivers and teams competing again. On the other hand, some fans felt the sprint format was a welcome change from the standard race weekend format and that it provided a good balance between on-track action and strategy. It seems that fans are divided on the new format, and there is no clear consensus on whether it's a positive addition to the race weekend. Now obviously this is all in the context that it happens only a couple of times in a year, not as a full-time thing where every weekend there is a sprint. Every once in a while it'll be fun to change things up, especially in circuits where there tends to be a lack of action. Also, this seems to be headed in the direction of removing practice session, which most people don't want to see, including myself. Despite the sprint and the race being a bit boring, the format itself was a good improvement on what otherwise would have been an even more boring weekend. It provided more action and less time for setups, making it more thrilling. The format itself was a great experiment with just a bit of tweaking and changes to get it just right. What do you think about this new format? Share your thoughts in the comments. You can watch some interesting F1 stories on your screen right now. Peace.